This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day, carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the First 100 podcast. This is where we explore the journey of entrepreneurs, business owners, agency leaders, and loads of different types of people as they share with us their strategies, the challenges, and the triumphs that have led them to secure those first 100 customers, those first 100 followers, that first 100 mark. I am your host, Daniela, and I'm Penji's partnership coordinator. Today, I'm joined here with a very special guest, Allison Hardy. Hi, Allison. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Very excited to film with you. For anybody that doesn't know about you, doesn't know who you are, can you give us a little bit of a rundown of you and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I am an email marketing strategist. I say that I help uh, course creators and membership site owners enroll new clients into those programs on autopilot through the power of email marketing. I've been in business for approximately 8 years. I've had multiple iterations of my business, but as it suggests, the journey to entrepreneurship has really informed where I'm at today.
Amazing, yeah. So very interesting with email marketing. Can you tell us a little bit about how you help your clients with email marketing? Do you help them develop strategies, or is it more like, like a whole campaign? How did you even choose to focus specifically on email marketing and not other kinds of marketing?
Yeah, I really got super invested in email marketing in 2020 when the world shut down. My kids were home for 18 months. I had a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old at the time. My husband was a chaplain at a hospital and then he got put in the COVID wing. And so, like, it was just a wild time. And I'd always been pretty good at email marketing. Like, it was a very, like, I find a lot of people are really like stressed out about it. For me, I was never like super stressed about it. And it kind of just felt like a conversation to me. So, I went from, like, having, like, 5 to 6 hours a day to work to, like, having 1. So I needed to figure out a way so that I could still sell without, like, being on or required to be on and show up at a certain place on a certain time because I was toasted and I had no, like, brain capacity to do that. And life was super inconsistent with 2 little guys at home. So I just needed, like, a way so that I didn't have to be on in order to sell. So I developed an entire, like, email marketing ecosystem, I call it, where they're nurtured, the leads are nurtured, they're pitched to, they're invited to join other things. There's a whole, like, process. And I started getting results, which was really amazing. And once I started getting results, I started sharing those results, and people started to be like, "Can you do this for me? Can you do this with me?" And so done for you work was kind of born from that. And then from there, I started a membership where I teach people how to do it.
Interesting. So does your clientele kind of range between just like normal people who want to do email marketing for themselves, or is it more to cater towards business owners and, people from like more agency and business type of things?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I've had agencies ask me to like teach them my methods. And I've had business owners and course creators and coaches and experts be like, "Can you just do this for me?" And then some people, just don't want me to do it for them. They want to learn. So those folks also would like to learn also.
So, I think like when I've spoken to people who sort of start kind of their own endeavors, they always tell me, I always hear the same thing of like, getting leads at the beginning is the hardest, right? Like getting those first few customers, clients, whatever it is. How did you get through that hurdle? How was that experience for you?
Yeah, so you're totally right. So email funnels, email marketing, there has to actually be people to send it to. Otherwise, like it won't work. So as important as the emails are, you actually have to have those leads coming in for sure. So two things that I really lean on that I like go all in on are Facebook ads. Because I do think they're like email marketing, how you're able to sell on autopilot, I think you should be able to generate leads on autopilot. So that if you want to take a day off, a week off, a month off, if you're doing other things, like your business is still churning and burning in the background. And so there's still leads going into that funnel that you created. I hear a lot of people say like, my funnel just isn't converting. And I'm like, well, okay, let's look at your funnel, of course, but then let's also look at your lead gen. And most people just aren't generating enough leads in order to make it so that their funnel can even convert. So that's something really important to think about. So that's why I think Facebook ads are really, really important and having that automated lead gen. And then something else I really lean hard on is collaborations. I find the online space to be pretty lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
And so having like a group of people that you can be like, hey, like let's do this thing together. Like I have an idea, you want to talk about it, has been really, really beneficial, not only for lead generation, but for also just like not feeling alone in the online space. And that's a big motivator for me just as a person.
And lead gen can be very tedious, I think.
Yeah.
If you're doing it yourself all the time and you're just like manually searching for like, trying to like decipher if this person is like a good option for a lead or not, it can be really draining.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I'm always about, like, how can I make this not draining? How can I make this process not one that I loathe?
Yeah.
And so what does that look like for me? And I think that's a healthy question for most of us to ask. Like, we all need to generate leads, we all need to sell, but, like, how can we do those things in a way that, number 1, gets you results, but also number 2, like, doesn't totally suck while you're doing it?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm also interested with email marketing. How is that differing from, like, I would say, like, the success that you see through email marketing? Is it different than the success that you see through maybe social media marketing, content marketing, which is really popular right now, or traditional marketing like billboards and TV commercials? How do you measure the success of a campaign with email marketing?
Yeah, well, I can't speak to the billboards and commercials because I have never done that. But I can speak to the social media aspect of things. So I think social media has a time and a place for sure. I think that it's an amazing way to connect with people. I think just with like the ability of ads, like we have a really cool way to like expand our reach without, like having to like do that manual work. So I think there's lots and lots and lots and lots of pros of social media, but social media is also not geared towards sales. It's geared towards relationships. And so it's harder to get people off of that platform and into like another place, like a sales page, for example. So while I think social media has a time and a place, I don't think it should be where you're doing the majority of your sales. And number one, because again, it's not set up for sales. But number two, like this happened, when I was first starting my business, Facebook pages came out
Oh, yeah.
in business for. Facebook pages came out and they were, the hot thing. Like everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, you have to get a page," because they got crazy reach. And then Facebook decided to roll out ads, which are wonderful and great, but as soon as they did that, our pages just tanked. And so if I was only relying on the pages, if that was like my only way to generate leads, like you were done. You were like dead in the water. So social media is constantly changing and it's not geared to bring you off of the platform. So like from my perspective, if we're making smart decisions, if we're looking at like what actually gets us results, what is designed to move you off a platform, what is designed to show up consistently in your inbox, for me that's email marketing.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Um, I remember, like, my first job. This is kinda like a tangent, but I just remembered when you said that. I remember when I started working, I was kinda like the assistant of the marketing team. So I was very new, so I didn't know anything about anything, right? I was just kinda like there. And I remember they told me something about email marketing and how they were trying to do this campaign and they needed me to do this for, like, the company. And I kept thinking to myself, like, "This is ridiculous, like, who does this? Like, this is such, like, an old people thing." 'Cause I don't know, I guess I thought of it, like, in this sort of, like, who's checking their email unless it's, like, strictly necessary, you know?
Mhm.
And, like, I would also think, like, "Oh, I if I get, like, a newsletter or something, I just, like, write it off as spam, I'm not gonna sit down and read it," right? And I remember, like, the people there, they were like, "No, I think this is, like, a very sort of youthful mindset that you have because you're very young and you've always been like a student. So that's why you think of it that way. But like when you move out into like the business world, it's very different. And they sort of like started explaining a bunch of things to me and it really opened my eyes to like how I had been viewing things from like a very young perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, I wasn't interested in email marketing, and I think, like, it really opened my eyes to, like, how this is a great alternative to marketing that is very overlooked because it's not necessarily the flashiest, right?
100%. It is not necessarily the flashiest. You're totally right. Like, I can go into someone's Instagram account and I say they have 100,000 followers, and I'm like, "Oh, they must be legit." But
Yeah.
I can't I mean, but that could, not be true. That's a very much so like a vanity metric. But I don't know if that person has, the size of email lists. So, like, it's very, you can be emailing, 1 or 100,000 people, like, it doesn't really show. So it can be sometimes, like, not as like you said, like, as a flashy of a platform. But if we're talking about, like, conversions and sales and things like that, it's the place to be.
Yeah, for sure, and it definitely also, I think it simplifies a lot of things. I think, um, social media requires a lot of work with content creation, right?
Yes, absolutely, and a lot of people get stuck on that, like, content creation hamster wheel, because they think they're supposed to, but they're not actually. Like, I find a lot of this is what I find, so, like, maybe your experience is different, but what I find is a lot of people are, like, on this hamster wheel, like, 'cause they're supposed to, like, they're doing all the right things, but they're not actually doing the right things that actually get them results in their business. So they're doing these very, like, public forward-facing things, but there's nothing coming from that. So there's nothing coming from those social media posts. Now, if there's stuff coming from it, then that's great and awesome, and you should stick with it. But they're often leaving out the things that actually get them the results they're looking for, like email marketing, because again, the social media is the very like forward facing, very obvious way you're growing your business.
And I think very youthful audience too, which is not ideal for like a ready to buy person, right? Because if you're looking for someone to like purchase your product or purchase something from you, the likelihood of someone buying out of like a core group that's like very young is harder.
Yes, your TikTok dances are probably not going to bring in a ton of sales. They might get you lots of likes, but like maybe a lot of sales.
Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting. And I actually wanted to also ask you about how do you think you mentioned that Facebook ads is also something that you really sort of put a lot of effort into, right?
Yeah.
Is this something that you recommend for every business owner, or do you think that it's dependent on the industry?
It's a great question. I work with coaches and experts. I am a coach and an expert. So I can say for my clients, it makes sense, especially because they want to be able to sell through an email funnel. And so one of the reasons why they're doing an email funnel is they want that automated, like hands-off sales. So for them, Facebook ads kind of is in that same vein. It's automated hands-off lead generation. So I think for that crew, that group of people, it makes sense. I think that Facebook ads in general are an amazing way to get in front of new audiences. I think they're an amazing way to generate a relatively inexpensive lead, all things considering. Um, but I don't think it's perfect for you if you don't have a proven offer, if you don't have a funnel, if you're just generating leads to generate leads, like there's no like plan for them. I think it really makes sense for you if you have a system that you have people to plug into and you're ready to scale it.
So some people have also been I was talking to someone who told me that he's a big fan of Google Ads
Mhm.
because it boosts SEO. And he prefers Google Ads over Facebook ads because of SEO. And I mean, I guess he was like a big fan of SEO. Um, is it for you kind of the same? Does it differ? Or do you think that it really depends on who your client is?
I do think it depends a bit on your client. I haven't dug into Google Ads personally, simply because I have a system that works and like if it's not broken, I'm not gonna fix it type of thing. But I have heard amazing results. And I have a colleague that's like a Facebook or a Google ad expert. And she talks about her clients often and what sorts of results they're getting. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I just don't know a bunch about it.
And do you think, like, in your experience with email marketing, do you think that it's still useful, or do you think that it's sort of dying down? I'm asking because I think, like, sometimes we worry that there's certain things that are sort of becoming outdated, and the world is moving like this lately
Yeah.
with AI and all of this, changing technologies just like advancing so quick. Do you feel like, since it's your realm, that this has influenced the way that you do things? Do you think that eventually email marketing is going to go away, or do you think that this is just boosting email marketing more?
I don't think email marketing is going to go away simply because it's been around for quite some time now and it hasn't gone away yet. Whereas, like, if we look at platforms like Instagram or Facebook, like they are drastically different from what they were when they first rolled out. So, and I mean, email marketing has changed, but not as much as those platforms. And I always go back to the idea that like everything's a good idea, right? So, like, it's a great idea for you to have a TikTok account. It's really good for you to do Facebook ads. It's really good for you to be on Instagram. Like, it's everything's a good choice. It's just a matter of like, is it a good choice for you? So looking at your goals, how you want to show up, how you want to, serve people, what do you want to do every single day in your actual business? Um, when looking at those things, it's really important to like match the method to those motivations because I think like you can get yourself matched with a platform that's maybe not the right for you, and it's gonna feel like a freaking chore. You're not gonna wanna show up, you're not gonna wanna do it. And I'm not saying, like, it's always gonna be rainbows and butterflies with whatever you choose, but, like, it's just important to know, like, how you're motivated and how you want to show up, and being able to try different things out on the platform. So, like, the way that I emailed 5 years ago is very different than how I email today. And so being able to evolve within those specific platforms, I also think is a very important part of this.
And, the last question that I wanted to ask you is about budgeting for email marketing campaigns and ad campaigns. That's a big struggle for people who are about to start because they're not sure how to allocate a specific budget or where, that range should be. What is your suggestion for people who are in that phase trying to figure that out?
Yeah, so you don't really know until you do it, and I hate this answer because it's like a non-answer, but a couple of things to think about is if you're looking at your email, funnel from download a lead magnet to when you pitch someone your program, what's your conversion rate? So if you're converting at 5%, let's say you get 100 people into that funnel. Okay, 5% is 5 people buy. Let's say your program is $500. That's $2,500 in sales. Cool. Okay, so then if we look at that and that's like tried and true and relatively consistent, and then you start to spend money on Facebook ads, looking at those numbers. So let's say you're getting $4 an email address on Facebook ads, 100 people in, that's $400. So you're spending 400 to make 2,500. Like that seems pretty good. I would be happy with that. So it's like knowing those sorts of numbers. And again, you like don't know until you actually do it. But also like there's industry standards you could work towards and assume that you're gonna get when you first start out. So like if your email funnel is converting, you're like, "Okay, I should convert around 5%." You can make some educated decisions there, and I would like at first, I wouldn't spend Facebook ads if it's a new campaign. I would just generate those leads manually. So maybe to your existing email list, your Instagram followers, wherever it is that you hang out, so that you're not fronting that money and you're seeing just profits come through. And then once you have those results, putting money onto some Facebook ads or other, generated leads platforms.
Amazing. Yeah, I think, like, just sort of making educated guesses can be scary for people,
It
right?
is. No, it's super scary, but, like, again, you don't know it until you do it, and it's a risk you have to take, but, like, also knowing that you've put your best thing forward, you're doing the best you can, um, you're doing the work that matters, I think is also really important to remind yourself when those mindset gremlins start to creep up.
And I mean, even if your campaign doesn't do well, I think it helps you for data.
Exactly. Yes. So you can also then like troubleshoot. So maybe you got 10 people to click over to that sales page. And if no one bought, that doesn't mean that the funnel is broken. It's the sales page. So you can use like the data to inform your decisions. If nobody's opening the emails, okay, time to change the subject lines. Like there's so many data points that you get with email marketing that helps you like decipher what's actually going on that it's a really great platform for those numbers and to make those educated, data-driven decisions.
Amazing. Yeah. So, Allison, I have some rapid fire questions for you. It's been great talking to you, and I kind of just wanted to ask you some questions. They're really short and they're all about marketing. So, you should be able to do this. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm excited.
Okay. Let's see how many we can get through in 2 minutes. I'm
Ooh,
just gonna put a timer here on my phone. Okay. All right, let's do this. Favorite marketing tool right now?
ConvertKit,
SEO or paid ads if you had to choose one?
paid ads,
Best social media platform for growing a brand?
Instagram,
Most underrated marketing strategy?
asking questions.
Most overrated marketing trend?
So many. Um, on trending audio on Instagram.
Email marketing dead or alive?
Totally a lot.
One mistake businesses make with paid ads?
Oh, um, being too broad in general.
Key to writing high converting ad copy?
Ooh. Leading with a solid yes or a solid hook that ends in a yes.
Long form content or short form content? What's more effective?
I think long form content and then chunking it up into short form content.
One tip to lower cost per click ads?
Ooh, make it worthwhile. Like make it interesting. Make it like do these people actually want this thing? If they do, cool. If they don't, like that's fine too.
Best time to run a digital campaign?
Anytime because it's digital, doesn't matter.
First thing you do when optimizing a website?
Ooh, first thing you do when optimizing a website. You look at load time. This was a lesson I learned recently.
How do you stay updated on marketing trends?
Oh, that's a good question. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I also am in a mastermind, so people, share what's
Oh,
working for them right now.
time. We only had one more question, so you did really well.
Good.
You did really well. I've had people who they start talking a lot for one question and then we finish and then I'm like, time.
For the rapid fire, people.
Like short answer.
So
Thank you so much for doing this, Allison. Before I let you go, though, I wanted to give you space to tell our audience where they can go find you if they need help with their email marketing funnels, and anything. Floor is yours to tell us.
amazing. So I have a free resource. It's called the $80,000 email template. It's the singular email that brought in $80,000 in sales last year. You get the actual email, you get a plug and play template for you to use in your next open cart sequence or your next funnel. And you get an explanation as to why the strategy works. So that's at AllisonHardy.com/80000 email. You can grab it there. And then I hang out mostly on Instagram. So come find me, Allison_Hardy_.
Awesome. Yeah, I will be adding those links to the description of this so that the people that are watching can click and they can just go ahead and find you. It's been great having you today, Allison. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. My goodness gracious. It's been wonderful chatting.
It's been wonderful. Thank you, everybody. I will see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest, and to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend, and of course, subscribe.